Okay, hi everybody. This is a little bit of a surprise, but we're going to push the lecture up a little early for a couple of reasons. It's going to give you more of an uninterrupted block in the middle of the day, and this will let you start testing your deployment a little earlier. We won't run into lunch, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So we're going to talk about deployment. Launching your app live for the world to see. Now, in theory, we could do this just locally using ngrok or some sort of tunneling or something like that. So then, as long as our laptop was connected to the internet, everybody would be able to see our application. That's obviously not great for a lot of reasons. For instance, now you have to keep your laptop connected to the internet always and never close it or anything. So we're going to put it on someone else's computer and pay them or have some sort of supported free plan for them to make sure that that computer is always up and running and serving our customers. In order to get started with this, you're going to need an account at Heroku. So the platform we're going to be using called Heroku is a platform as a service. They've got a lot of benefits that they provide and things that they do and set up for us automatically, as opposed to something a little bit lower level like DigitalOcean, where you have to set up all the Linux settings yourself. So you would go to sign up,
I think
or if you log in, if you already
have a login.
And if it gives you an option for GitHub, then you can use that. But I think Heroku doesn't, right? It's kind of weird.
Do I remember my... Maybe I just have to go sign up. Great, I'll just sign up.
Your account.
Oh, it's not in...
One of you from each team may want to follow along with this. Think about that, but it's probably a good idea. You are recording, right, Ashin?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so we are recording.
Anybody want you guys want to hit brains?
I'll do it.
What?
I'll do it.
You doing it?
There we go.
I will be that one to play with it, but
Okay, so this will be empty for you.
Okay, so now the other thing we're going to want is the Heroku command line tools. And just to let you know, a lot of these instructions are going to be in the README for the updated Boilermaker. So let's make sure Boilermaker is updated, like our projects are in sync with the most recent changes. Did everybody see the Slack message I sent out this morning? A couple of people, one person last night. Well, technically in the morning.
it was 11:42.
Oh, no, you're right. It was that. Okay. I just assumed, because I'm usually pushing these things at 2 a.m.
I got home at midnight. All right, I got work to do.
So what are we going to do? We're going to fetch from the upstream remote, which you should have already configured. You're going to check out a new branch. We're going to merge in the master from the remote, so Boilermaker/master. There's a conflict in the package lock.
What was it? Package lock.
NPX is a cool little utility that lets you run libraries from NPM without first installing them globally. So the annoying thing about installing packages globally is you start to accrue all this cruft in your global NPM folder. NPX is like temporarily download and run and then throw away.
What is the package you sent out that does this?
I remember there's a merge thing for it. Where did I put it? It's in an issue in Boilermaker, so I'll just tell you in a second. Reduce merge conflicts. It's called npm merge driver.
Okay, npx, npm. So npx is useful for for packages that you download once and run once and basically never again. So if you ever use create React app, npx is a good use case for that because you would install it globally, run it once, and then never again. Cool. So now
with npx, this particular thing that we just installed is a merge driver for Git that tells Git how to deal with conflicts in package lock practice.
And it's working for us. Oh, maybe it's not working for us.
Fingers crossed that's some sort of temporary auto-merging package log JSON.
Sure, great. It auto-merged, so
It seemed
great.
like it worked.
Great.
Knock on wood.
So
once we've created this branch with the merged in updated information from the remote, we're going to push it up. Oh, we created let's do it now, verify or something. So it doesn't like something that we wrote. But you're going to push up a branch, create a pull request, get the pull request
no, that's
approved,
fine. That's fine.
merge it in.
Merge changes from here.
The -- no verify flag lets you skip the Husky tests.
Also, deleting Husky lets you skip the Husky
Yes,
test.
that too. Use this power wisely.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
It says, please make sure you have the correct access rights. Does that mean the person that set up our repo has to do this?
I'd take a
It might just be a generic.
Wait, sorry, Ashley?
Yeah.
What specifically do we have to put in, like, what's going on? Like, I just finished creating an account. So,
In Heroku?
yeah.
Yeah, so don't worry about Heroku. Yeah, so that's great. That's where you should be.
Okay.
Be logged in there. And install the command line tools. So Heroku. This is how I find them. I Google them every single time. And then this will give you a download link. Download and install. Yeah, so do this thing. If you use Homebrew, you can do this. If you use Linux, you can... What? It does not... You can probably apt-get it, or you can run this terrifying thing.
Run this arbitrary Ruby script.
Can
Right.
you repeat what Ashley was saying? I can't hear.
Yes. So once we have an account with Heroku, you're going to want to download the Heroku CLI tools. There's a link to the Heroku CLI tools in the README for Boilermaker near the bottom. And those CLI tools are ways that we can interact with our Heroku account and our Heroku deployed projects through the command line, doing things like changing variables, etc. Yeah.
Should we all create an account?
Well, one person is going to create an account, and then you're going to invite your teammates to that account. You don't have to do so this instant, but eventually you're all going to be members of that Heroku thing, so you can all go in and change the settings at will.
I think you will all eventually create accounts, but you don't have to right this second.
Right.
Okay, we're not waiting for that.
Nope.
Love that. Lecture 1, we set up all this stuff. Lecture 2, skip. Okay, so this is merged.
So once you've merged in these changes in your local, you can pull down the updated master, and now we can tell that everything is as it should be if we open up this code and we see that Travis YAML has a before deploy script in it. If your Travis YAML in your project has a before deploy, then you know you're up to date, which is down here. It's commented out. So this is the only change. All of the work we just did was to get these 2 lines. And the other thing was formatted slightly, but that was really it. And the idea is we're going to have Travis, which is a CI tool, a continuous integration tool. Continuous integration is not about testing per se. That's a big part of it, but it's about continuously integrating your changes into the live deployed app, as opposed to a more traditional model of software development where you have periodic releases every now and then. The big advantage of this is with lots of small incremental changes constantly being fed into the app, you catch problems earlier. And there isn't this whole, like, now you need to test the app 5,000 different ways and make sure that it works before we release it. And then we release it, we discover all these bugs. So Travis was currently, every time we push anything to GitHub, a branch, a pull request, etc., it's grabbing that commit, it's testing it, and it's letting us know if the test passes. We're now going to have it so that anytime something gets merged into the master branch on our GitHub, not only will Travis build and test that, but once it's finished, it's going to deploy it by pushing that project. It's going to wrap it all up into an archive format called Tarball and push it into our Heroku server. So in order to do that, we need to fill in a couple blanks. So we're going to uncomment all of these deploy and before deploy script stuff. And you'll see there's two things we have to fill in. We got to fill in the app name, where it says deploy app, and the API key, where it says your encrypted API key here. Well, we don't have a Heroku app or a Heroku API key yet, so we got to set this up. Ashi, have you already installed the Heroku CLI tools?
I have installed them long ago, but
okay, so
this
we should show doing it now.
so go
Yes.
sure. So
Just like me.
I have Homebrew, so I might do brew install. I might run this command. If you don't have Homebrew, that's fine. Download the installer and click through it. Here, let's see. Ooh. Brew.
So we're going to get the CLI tools. Once you have the CLI tools, you're going to be able to use them to create a new Heroku app. And that's also going to give us tools for getting our API key and stuff like that. Amelia?
Was writing the Travis YAML like requirements or tests or whatever something that you did as part of Boilermaker? Does it usually come like empty or?
Yeah, so Travis, as a CI platform, works off of whatever settings it finds in a .travis.yml file in your project repo's top-level folder. I wrote this Travis config for you and included it as part of Boilermaker. It's pretty stock if you just went and read the directory repo, is that they're version controlled along with your source code, which I think is pretty rational.
And CodeShip is still considered continuous integration.
Yes, CodeShip is another CI tool. There's also Circle CI. There's also 500 other things. Travis, CodeShip, and Circle CI, I think, are among the three biggest.
CodeShip Microsoft, right?
I don't know. I've not seen any indication of that, but it very well could be for all I know.
And so the config is located locally versus on CodeShip, like the Travis versus YAML versus CodeShip thing. Like, is there a term for that, or is it
The question was, is there a term for the idea of having the config live in platform or live in your repo? Not one specifically that I know of offhand. I would just say that, we have the config lives in our repo. It's source controlled. It's version controlled. How are we doing, Ashi, with the CLI tools?
This is fine.
Everything is fine.
Everything is fine. Would remove this and would create the same thing. We're all fine. Okay, so I can create something. Is that our next step?
Yes. So, sorry, 1 second. I got off into the Boilermaker issues by accident. All right. So once we have the Heroku CLI tools, we can actually create a new Heroku app straight from the command line in our Git repo, just by saying Heroku create exactly. Or if you have an app name that you want to use that is currently not already being used on Heroku, you can also say Heroku create name of your app. And we've reached the limit of 5 apps with verified accounts.
Or add a credit card. Well, we're not doing that. So let's delete something.
You probably will not have this error.
Oh, just watch me.
What do I delete? These are also great. Aqueous Cavern, Intense Shore. That doesn't sound so important.
Murmuring Earth.
Yeah, these are pretty great.
They are good.
Yeah.
I made up one for the README, which is something like cool, salty conifer. It sounds like a Heroku app name.
Okay.
Nice. So once we have this, we're also going to actually even before we did that, we should have done Heroku login,
Oops.
which would take our username and password for Heroku and let us actually do this. Otherwise, it'll tell you you can't do that until you log in. So it's not like you messed anything up, but I skipped a step. Now, we have almost everything we need set up for our Heroku app, except Heroku doesn't come with Postgres by default, so we're going to provision that add-on. We're going to opt into that extra optional feature. And that's Heroku add-ons : create space Heroku-PostgreSQL : hobby-dev. So the hobby dev is just an option saying, I want the free version, as opposed to the really expensive version. Looks like we made one. Database is created. Very nice. That's actually everything we needed to set up Heroku. The rest of it is all going to be Travis stuff. So let's see.
Well, should we seed our database? Or will we do that later?
I was going to show them
Okay.
like, it's like, what? Wow, how do we do this? Okay, so now what we want to do is edit our Travis YAML so that we have our Heroku app name in there. So we customize ours. If you just did Heroku create, it would give you a randomly generated one. Either way, we can go edit our Travis YAML and fill that in. We're probably going to want to do this on a new branch since it's going to be a pull request to modify our Travis YAML. We'll get to the API key in a second.
This Travis.yaml get it load?
No, it must be in the repo. Otherwise, how's Travis reading it? Yeah.
So you need the API key there?
So to get the API key, we're not going to run, we actually need the Travis CLI tools. So that's located at github.com/travis-ci/travis.rb hash installation, which is for some reason 3/4 of the way down the page.
Okay, well, hopefully this is right. Oh, damn it.
Oh, this uses Ruby?
It does use Ruby. I don't know why they don't have more options, but they don't.
It's written in Ruby, probably.
Is that the same thing as Ruby on Rails?
No, so Ruby on Rails is a framework for Ruby. That's a web server framework. It's all like Express plus JavaScript. JavaScript on Rails would be JavaScript with Express. Kind of. Although Ruby on Rails is a little more opinionated, it's a little bit more clean. It's got a lot more tooling. It's actually pretty nice. There's a reason why it was used for a lot of things. Active Record is nice. Okay, so once we have the Travis CLI tools, we can now run Travis space encrypt space $open Heroku space auth : token close paren. Now, just a little bit about shell scripting. $parens means whatever this command returns, we're going to interpolate that into our outer command. So running Travis encrypt on our API key is essentially what we're doing here. Travis is going to take our Heroku API key, and it's going to generate an encrypted version of that API key, which only Travis is actually able to read. So even if this goes up into GitHub, it's safe, because nobody else can actually tell what our real Heroku API key is from this string. So we're going to paste that into our Travis YAML under the secure tag there. And now the way this works is because your repo actually is baked into this encryption, it actually wanted to know what the repo is. You might have seen that in the terminal. When Travis reads this encrypted string, it gets both the Heroku API key and the repo that it refers to. So only our repo can even use this encrypted string. And Travis will be able to tell that. So it's totally safe to put online, unlike most other passwords and API keys and things that you ever deal with. It's a pretty clever solution. I'm actually a fan.
PGP or something?
Sorry.
Using like PGP?
Yeah, it's using something. I didn't know. I didn't go look up what actual encryption algorithm it's using.
Gabe,
Yes.
so could you read out the URL to get the Travis CLI tools again?
Yes. I will actually Slack it.
Okay, cool.
Oh, what you are?
The Travis CLI tools. I'm putting it right there. Okay, you got it.
Thank you.
Okay, so once we've created our Travis YAML with the, or not created it, but saved it with the API key and the Heroku app name, you're going to commit this. You're going to push up this branch that's like Travis deploy or something like that. Open a pull request, get it merged into master.
Do you have a workshop for this or any kind of documentation?
It's actually in the readme,
Okay.
step by step. I'm basically just reading out the Boilermaker readme to you right now.
And this video will be online.
Yes.
Oh, right.
So how do we deal with the fact that
Does
our
it-
authentication we use localhost and this is not going to be
That's
Oh,
already built into Boilermaker. So if you look at the source code for your project, there's nothing that says localhost. There's something that says serve on a given port. But that's going to be modified depending on what our environment is.
We're doing on the return path.
What? Oh, you mean for OAuth?
Yeah.
Uh,
That's what I meant. Yeah, yes.
that reads out from where? Where does it get the information about where to go back? It's in the config under callback URL. Remember, there's a secrets JSON that says, or secrets.js that says Google OAuth callback is some value. So that's now an environment variable. And we're going to be able to change our environment variables on Heroku and point them to different things.
So this is going to be a different problem that we're about to encounter.
I think you just need to install it.
Probably. So while that happens, okay, so I'm going to merge this. Or actually, wait, should I merge this? I should
Well,
merge this.
given that you're locally, you're doing it install, I think it's going to change the package lock. Because I think you didn't have
The Babel
package lock
polyfill.
operation, which actually this needs in order to work properly.
I see. So do you actually do that?
Yeah.
No. Because you installed. The package lock was already different.
Right. Yeah.
So this should be fine, right?
I think so. Yes. Now, there's two places that we're going to kind of go watch the paint dry. We can go look in Heroku, or in Travis, and see the build running. And the cool thing now is if we actually go to our master, rather than the PR even,
Sorry. And then in master.
in code commits, the most recent commit will be a merge commit. And we'll see that Travis is busy with that yellow dot building it. And the cool thing is on every master commit now, after the build and the test, there's going to be one more step, which is deploy. And we're going to, since we're getting this set up, we're probably going to want to see what errors crop up if the deploy fails. Hopefully it does not fail.
Will our seeded data go up there?
Not yet. We're going to show you how to do that. Of course, it's
We're
cute.
waiting in line.
Yeah, Shumanji in the meantime is beating us. No, dysfunctional programming, rain check, mindful market. Lots of people using Travis right now. Yeah, when you're using the free tab, you got to wait in line.
I was playing
Oh,
on the
we're
website. I
moving.
couldn't find a paid version of it.
Travis, I'm sure you can pay for it.
Yeah, I'm sure that they have a way for you to give them money.
I couldn't find it. I was like, I want to give you money. Show me how.
Yeah, maybe their product managers need to get on that. More annoying
Like really,
adware.
when I worked at a startup where we used an even slower service, I thought they had a great monetization option, which was like, if you click this button, this build will be done in 1 minute. It'll cost you $1.
Ooh,
Like,
that's
I would have clicked that so many times.
addictive.
Ah, damn. No. Why did it fail? Nobody knows.
Can you go to the build history? Because this is a pull request. Oh, that's the master. That's the one. So yeah. So that is startup.
Mm-hmm.
Watching the drive. Some notes while we just sit around. Okay. Yes, before deploy. So there's a couple of things that we're going to have to deal with here. One is telling whether or not the deploy worked. Another is once the deploy does work, tracking to see what happens on Heroku and seeing if everything gets started correctly. After that, if everything is good, we're going to probably want to know as developers how to see their database online. Now, normally you would not run a seed script that does like force sync true on your production app that is live, because that's going to erase all your genuine users. For the purposes of this workshop, we're going to show you how to do it, but you probably write some other script that lets you just add like a test user to the already existing database.
You have no users. Sorry to break that to you.
Yeah.
No.
Your
That's
real
okay.
users are few and far between. Phantoms. This is maybe nap time. I don't know. This is the kind of thing where like it's compiling, quote unquote. It's not compiling, but it's compiling is giving you stock developer excuse to go play ping pong or do whatever. Exactly. Classic excuse.
I'm disappointed by how derivative this page of images is.
Yeah. Oh, hey, things are happening. So it's spooling up our Linux box, launching our Docker container, articulating splines.
So this is in... Yeah, this is testing.
Now these commands are set up by you in the scripts?
So a lot of these commands is just baked into the way Travis works, and then every now and then it's reading my config file for certain options and saying, do this instead. So for instance, on line 454, npm install globally npm 5.7, that was actually not a line that I added. All right, so here's new stuff. It actually just ran Webpack, so it's building the client. It's destroying node modules because we don't want to include those in this tarball. It's preparing the deploy. It's wrapping it all up in an archive. And now this is stuff from Heroku. Heroku is actually telling Travis, oh, hey, you pushed a Node app to me. I'm going to install this Node app, just installing the production dependencies. I'm going to do the npm install, I'm going to run all those scripts, and now we don't have a .git, so we're going to skip Husky. Create a secrets.js, and done. Apparently, our app is live. Apparently, it's a
So
Heroku now. Yes.
So does this mean it'll go live to Heroku before you run it for pull request?
no, I didn't.
No,
push
it's
it.
only from
Yeah.
master.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, only from master.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Travis only runs the deploy step when our master branch is updated.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's because to do the test, it'll run before.
Yes, it runs on the pull request and the branches. It just runs up through the test step, but it doesn't run the deploy step.
Okay, so it's really two different times that this is executing.
Yes. Travis actually does it 3 times. It runs on the branch that you push up. It runs on the pull request, and it runs on the merge commit made in master. It runs many, many times for some reason. Now, how can we tell that this is actually up? There's 2 ways. We can try to just go to the website and see if it's up. But I want to show you in the terminal, we're going to actually see what our, what did we get?
We don't have any API routes.
Oh, we don't have routes. Okay, good. So in the terminal, how can you tell what's going on with your Heroku app? The command that's very nice is Heroku logs space -- tail. And this is going to spit out what your server's logs look like, which if we go up, we've got an error. That's not good.
So no, well, this is just.
Oh, well, that was for the
yeah.
Git / API dreams or whatever it was.
Our log is very chatty.
So near the top, we'll see that it ran node server, a build was started, it's launched, and state changed from starting to up. This is the sign here that our server is now live. And if you actually do Heroku space open in the command line, and it should go and open your app online.
I don't know which app.
Because when we set up this Heroku app and said Heroku create, it put like a .heroku or something in the Git, or I can't remember exactly how it is.
Actually, I'm not sure how it identifies itself, but
Yeah, but it knows that this
Oh.
repo corresponds to a specific Heroku project.
it's added remotes.
Gotcha. And check this out, we're live. Let's check our console, make sure that there's no obvious errors. I mean, sorry, the dev tools. It looks
No
like everything's
obvious
connected.
errors.
So this seems to be working fine. The bundle is working, which is the only reason why we can see any of these React components. But what about logging in as one of our test users? I don't remember which test users exist. I think it was Cody@email.com or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
We could check it out.
Cody@email.com. And what's the password?
123. Now, user not found. So how do we run our seed script online? We can basically go almost like shell script into the Heroku environment, the file system, quote unquote, that Heroku has. Heroku's a little weird. It doesn't have a permanent file system, so you can't go add files and expect that they'll be there later. It constantly turns off your app and turns it back on when people actually want it. So nothing lives in that space permanently.
Here
But
we
we
are.
kind of treat it like a normal shell prompt. And the way we can go into that is say Heroku space run. Did you already do something?
I already did it, but
You already did it,
Yeah.
okay.
but it's this.
Heroku run bash, which just means like go execute the bash command on Heroku. And what is the bash command? It's a shell script. So now we're inside a shell script on Heroku, or a shell prompt, excuse me. Boom, we're inside of bash on Heroku, and we can go look at our files, we can do various things. What's the seed script? How do we run it? How would you run it locally? npm run seed. So we just do that on Heroku. There we go, and now in theory you can log in as Cody. And we did, but something's broken. React is not defined, that's not good.
It's possible this homepage is forked. I don't know. Does it work locally?
our demo repo that we've been showing you things, you've been kind of slinging things back and forth willy-nilly without being very careful about it.
It's very possible something's broken.
Yeah. Go.
Oh yeah, so it's just as broken as it is locally.
Okay.
Which is fine. That's fine.
Good.
Dreams.js probably didn't import React.
The last thing I want to talk about, which I believe is the last thing I need to tell you about, really, is that for our OAuth, for Google and things like that, there are certain environment variables, which currently we're setting in secrets.js. So we have in our secrets.js things like process.env.google client, Google API key, etc. equals some string. We're not going to have the same thing on Heroku. It is making a secrets.js after installation, but we're not able to. It would be ridiculous for us to go copy paste our stuff into that file every time we have a commit on master. So instead, we're going to have those live in the Heroku environment. We could set those in two ways. You could set it from the command line as it's like Heroku config :set, right? And then space.
Yeah.
You would do Google API key equals and then a string.
I don't know if that's... Is it like client key and client secret?
Something like that. We would go look at the documentation or what's actually in Boilermaker right now. We'll tell you exactly what it means. If you look at server DB, or not server DB, server...
Google client ID and client secret.
Yeah, server off Google. Google client ID and Google client secret. So we can set those local, or set those through the Heroku CLI. I think you need equals after Google client. Yeah. Okay, and we'll do the same thing for Google client secret, Google client ID, and Google callback. And that's how it knows to go not to localhost, but to another URL, specifically your URL.
And then show.
I think it's Google config get or something like that. No, you can get a specific one, but.
I can just show all of
You
them.
can set, you can get a specific one. So the sort of, I forget how to do all these CLI commands way to do it, is just to go to your app in Heroku.com, where it's got a GUI that has a nice little button that you click and it shows all your environment variables, and you type them and it says save as a button. So that's the non-hacker way to do it. Yeah.
How did SQLize know which database to look at?
Good question.
Yes, very good question. Let's check that out in the code, shall we?
Yeah. So first, here's a way to get the environment. You can run Heroku run env. And this will have all of the parameters you set and also some other things that Heroku is setting.
So if we check out in Boilermaker, server DB, you see that it reads the database URL from the environment. And when we provisioned our own PostgreSQL add-on for this Heroku app, it created, if we go back to the env printout, database URL equals this big long Postgres URL, which is our remote database that lives online. By the way, this is a really great thing to add to Postico. If we take that database URL,
I don't have Postico.
you don't have Postico.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a really great thing to add to
Yeah.
pSQL. Or whatever database system you use, you can connect to this database yourself, just like you use supposed to go to connect to your local database. It can connect to remote databases because it's all just over TCP/IP. And that's very helpful for debugging your online database using whatever tool you prefer.
Oh. This might be kind of hard.
Again, the great majority of these instructions are all in the updated Boilermaker repo README file at the bottom. That's pretty much everything I wanted to show you about this. Are there any questions?
Oh, and the question's all good now.
Yeah.
So on the Facebook and Google OAuth configuration, there's actually a callback UI, or URI that you need to provide.
Mm.
I think you're going to need to update that for this. You need
Yeah.
to give the host name.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know.
You made a statement earlier about talking about the server going down and up when people are not using it.
Yeah, so Heroku's free tier sleeps your dyno, quote unquote, if nobody uses it for a certain amount of time. So then the first time you go and you try to load it back up again, it might take a good 10, 20 seconds before you actually see anything on the page. There are scripts out there that are kind of abusing the system a little bit that just constantly poke your Heroku server to keep it awake.
Those don't work anymore.
They don't work anymore.
Heroku will now prohibit your app from running more than 10 out of every 24 hours or something.
Okay, so they crack down on that. It's fine. You don't need your app running 24/7. If you did, you would probably have paid users, and then you've got, A, congratulations. B, now you probably can afford to pay some developers to, improve the product. Of course, you can always go pay for something like DigitalOcean, set it up yourself. Don't rely on all this magic kind of stuff that Heroku does for you. And that's also a worthwhile task. But I think it's good to get used to the concepts of deployment and running this remote server and keeping it up to date and having it, with environment variables that feed into the app and all that kind of stuff. And once you're comfortable with that, you can start to configure it and become more low level about it yourself. Okay, that was all from me. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ashi, for demoing.